What's going on, everybody? It's D Got Sense back with another video, and I just want to start off by saying this. You guys don't always have to sit down and listen to these. You can play this on the way to the gym or on the way to work, or you just sitting alone sometimes and outside on a balcony. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and get into it. And as you guys know, the red is a quote from history, and the black is my interpretation of the quote and my thoughts on it, or what my brain kind of took from it. So let's get into it. Preparation is a tool used by the wise to make life easier in the days to come. As a man, every decision you make will lead to a specific outcome, so therefore you must understand the relationship between cause and effect. And this goes for everybody. When I made this at the time, I was specifically talking to a dude that was asking me different questions, and I was explaining it to him, and I just wrote it as such. So let's continue. Once you have a deep understanding of cause and effect, now it's time to think about the direction you want your life to go, or you want your life to head in, and this is where the preparation begins. It's much easier to be fit by 25 if you start the journey at 20, opposed to if you start at 24, because as humans, we're restricted by time, environment, and morality. When you allot yourself time to reach a goal, you save yourself from stress caused by being rushed to reach a goal, anger, rage you feel from allowing it to happen to you, and then hopelessness from the constant failures due to rushing the process. These are just a few. Preparation is just giving yourself a reasonable amount of time to complete slash learn something. So to break down the first part, preparation is a tool used by the wise to make life easier. It is wisdom to value preparation. It is wisdom to value the having the time, which is priceless, right? You can't buy time to complete something, right? Um, Being able to put your best foot forward can only be done when you have an adamant, or not an adamant, but a good amount of time to complete it. So that's why wise people don't really abuse the freedom of time or the freedom that they have with time because there are people that can't abuse time, right? Like if you're a prisoner or you are I'll just use the word slave, right? If you're a slave in a country or have been a slave, you don't have the freedom of time. So when you're allotted time to do things, it'd be in your best interest um, to use it as if it could be gone one day. I'll just say as a person, every decision you make will lead to a specific outcome. So therefore, you must understand the relationship between cause and effect. So it's important to understand that everything you do has an outcome, right? Whether it be good, bad, whether it be big or small, right? From the moment you wake up and decide to, let's say you drink coffee versus pre-workout versus a 5 hour energy, right? All of those will have different outcomes in energy levels, right? And they'll also have uh, an impact on your overall physical health as well. And it's never initially, right? It's always over the course of years. If someone wakes up and drinks water every day of the year, first time they wake up, maybe it's super cold or super hot, depending on the person. And maybe you have person two that drinks, let's say, coffee, and you have person three that drinks a Red Bull, right? In 20 years, the effects of those will start to show, right? And that's just from the time you wake up and just what you're choosing to consume, what liquid you choose to consume. So that's a small example of cause and effect, right? Everyone needs to understand that decisions make up life, the outcomes of life. So let's get on to the second part. Once you have a deep understanding of cause and effect, now it's time to think about the direction you want to go. You want your life to head in, and this is where preparation begins. So once you understand that it's solely your decisions that lead to these outcomes, for the most part, right? It's not often that unseen circumstances will take hold of your life in such a drastic way that you know you didn't even you can't even fathom how this happened and how how it's your fault, right? Like that doesn't really just happen much where um your spouse dies, you lose your job, and you go blind all in the same week. Is pretty much what I'm saying. It's not like that. Just now, that does happen. It's just not common. It's not common at all that life just hits you that hard that fast. So, um, now when you have this deep understanding, now you actually have to sit down and ask yourself, how do I want the effects of my life to look like? Or what do I want the effects of my life to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? I think it's very important to have, uh, and it's good to write it down. And after you've become pretty experienced in doing this, it'll become more of a mental note than anything as to where you want you to be in those coming years. And let's get to the third part. It is much easier to be fit by 25 if you start the journey at 20 opposed to if you started at 24, because as humans we're restricted by time, environment, and morality. And I'll touch on that morality portion, at the end of it, because I know you could be looking at like morality. So it's easier to be fit by 25 if you start at 20, right? That's more of a an obvious one. Why? Because you don't know how good you're going to be at something, right? It's kind of like the talent beats hard work when hard work stops working hard. If you're not talented in something, but you truly desire to be good at it, it would take you more time than someone that's talented, right? So why not allot yourself a reasonable amount of time to complete a task, and put the heart, and put the effort in as well? Because this is the thing. Do you remember those unforeseen circumstances I was referring to earlier? If you start at 20, it's like, okay, I'll give you an easier example. Say you want to make $1 million in a year, right? And you've never learned a high value skill set, or you have this amazing product, right? And let's say you even do have an amazing product. That's 1 year to create $1 million as opposed to 5 years. Do you see how much more you would have to make in a shorter time frame than uh, if you started at 25? So it's very important to understand that time is a blessing, right? Environment. Your environment can hold you back, right? Like if you're in the middle of the country and you want to be a software developer, that's obvious, right? You're going to be limited by your environment. Now, granted, it won't be that clear. Sometimes it could be from the people you have around you every day, or the people you just communicate with online. You know, your environment, and you could be toxic to your own environment based on the causes that you're creating, meaning you're causing chaos in your own home, and you're the only one there, right? You're comparing yourself to others. You're choosing to fill your fridge with horrible foods. You're constantly getting dopamine hits because you're always expecting a reward, every time you do something. And the reward could be, on board, let me get on my phone, and your mind starts anticipating that relief, that so-called joy. And now dopamine's released, and it's even harder for you, right? And when it says morality, and when I put morality here, what I meant was this is doing things the right way, like having integrity and dignity about you. Um, the reason I put the be fit by 25 versus 20, you're more likely to do things that follow the commandments of God and that are morally right if you allot yourself time. Because if you're 24 and you need to get there by 25, you have one or two options: work extremely hard, way harder than you would have had to if you given yourself time, or you finna have to do something illegal. You see what I'm saying? So that's where morality and righteousness really come into play. Because if you don't give yourself that time, man, and you must, and in your mind you must reach that goal. Yeah, you you finna have to really do some stuff. So let's get on to this fourth part. When you allot yourself time to reach a goal, you save yourself from stress, and that stress is caused from being rushed to reach the goal. Anger, rage you feel from allowing this to happen to you. Hopelessness from the constant failures due to the process, and these are just to name a few. And I'll go ahead and tie this fifth one in. Preparation is giving yourself a reasonable amount of time to complete a task and learn something with uh, with structure. I'll go ahead and throw in with structure. So kind of like what I just touched on. It's kind of like when you procrastinate on an assignment that you had 2 weeks to do, and it's the last day, and all of a sudden everything's going wrong. You know, and we've all been there when you waste time like that, and then all of a sudden you're easily agitated. You know, because your mind is in go mode and the car breaking down. You know, you trying to hit 80 in the engine hot. It's smoking, brother. You need to give it up immediately. You know, um, and when it comes from stress, man, that can physically kill you. Man, that can physically kill you. So your lack of time management and your lack of mind management is really gonna cause you to kill yourself. See, stress can literally get you out of here. Anger will literally if you get mad enough, man, that's how road rage happen. That's how road rage happen, and that's how people go over the top, and don't realize how it got this bad. You know what I mean? They feel this immense amount of frustration, and they're overcome by emotion, right? As a human, we all experience emotion. It's kind of like fear. You can't you can't get rid of fear. You can only master how you deal with it in high stressing situations, right? So when it comes to all these different emotions, you have to manage them. And you're in the best self defense for things is prevention. Stop yourself from even getting to that stressful place, that angry place, that hopeless place. You see what I'm saying? So, and you can start to feel hopeless from the constant failures due to rushing the process. If you try to climb a mountain a million times and you aren't gaining any ground, you are going to feel hopeless. That's just the reality of the situation. So either you're gonna have to, and the only reason one would gain hope is if you try a new technique, a new approach, a new strategy, a new system. You need something new. You cannot keep doing the same thing over, expecting a different result. That's insanity. And if you're doing that, you're insane. I'm here to tell you that. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you. So when it comes down to it, plan for what's difficult while it is easy. This is D Got Sense. Y'all have a great day. Y'all bless in the Mashiach name, and I'm out.